Why in the world did the Boston Celtics give up Jaylen Brown? Why were they so dead set on getting rid of Jaylen Brown? Jaylen Brown, who arguably, not even, you know what, let's not play the game since he is now a former Celtic. He was the team's best player. Not just this past season when it was obvious because Tatum was out. Even when they won the chip, even when they won the Larry O.B., Jaylen Brown was the better player, was the Celtics' best player. Tatum's the face. He's the name. He's the one that pushes jersey sales, and we can get into the real reason as to why that is one day. But when it came down to basketball skills, as much as we can kill Jaylen Brown for the lack of a left hand, and that certainly was a thing, still kind of low-key is a thing, but he certainly has gotten better. But why would the Celtics trade their best player? And why, if you're going to trade your best player, are you going to only receive Pandemic P in return? This isn't for basketball reasons. Let's start that off rip. This is not about basketball. Brad Stevens, the boy genius, does not think they're a better basketball team today than they were yesterday. There is no scenario that you could point to me and tell me and sell to me that MAGA Mitch Rob and Pandemic P are better for Jason Tatum than Jaylen Brown and even Nikola Vucevic. Because Jaylen Brown is that much more better than Pandemic P, not only today, but even 2 to 3 years from now in the future. So this can't be about basketball. They're going to sell you that this is about basketball. This move is not about basketball. This is about money. This is about money, and this is not even about salary cap. This ain't no Kawhi thing of circumventing the cap. This is the Celtics are being run by a private equity firm. And that private equity firm has its hands all over this deal. Because there is no basketball reason you could give me as to why you would trade Jaylen Brown and all you get back in return is Paul George. We'll go into the particulars of the deal. So Celtics have agreed to trade Jaylen Brown to the 76ers for Paul George, 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. So those picks are a 2028 first-round pick that could convert from a first to a swap that is more favorable to Boston, a 2031 unprotected Philadelphia first-round pick, a 2028 second-round pick, the more favorable of Golden State, Oklahoma City, and Milwaukee. You would like to think from that trio it will be Milwaukee. And a 2030 second-round pick, again, most favorable, of Washington, Portland, Phoenix. 2030, you would likely think that's a Washington thing, depending on what AJ does. It's either going to be AJ or probably Portland once the Dame thing works itself out in job. But again, those are just second-round picks. The jewel of this deal, if you want to call it that, could be the 2031 unprotected Philadelphia first. Because at that point, I believe Embiid is finally off the books. You still probably have Maxey. And if the whole Jaylen Brown thing works out, and Jaylen Brown and Maxey are still a thing with VJ, that first-round pick's not going to be that high. So the most favorable of these picks has to be the one in 2028, which could convert from a first to a swap. If that's all it's going to be, you just gave away your best player. And I know we get caught up in the minutia of what is better, what is best. Jaylen Brown was, it's hard to say that in the past tense, but here we are, was the Celtics' best player because he was a two-way player. Jason Tatum can play defense, but he cannot play defense like Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum is an offensive player. He think he Kobe for real, for real. Jaylen Brown played his role. Two-way player. I take the other team's best offensive player, and I'm going to still go get my 20, and I'll give the ball to Jason Tatum, let him do his thing to make sure he gets his 25. Celtics gave away its team's best player, and all they got for it is a couple of weak picks, first-round picks, and some pick swaps, essentially, and second-round picks. This is not about basketball. And to further confirm the story that it's really not really about basketball, look at these contract numbers. If you look at these contract numbers, the remaining contract, it kind of equals out, and the Celtics save almost $3 million this year alone by trading Jaylen Brown for Paul George. And they could get out from underneath of the Paul George deal next year when it's an expiring deal, assuming he opts in for his player option. So you're trading away Jaylen Brown to get back 2 years of salary cap relief with the thought process of we'll spin the block in free agency and or trade season a year or two from now and try to surround Jason Tatum with help. My thing is, how good do you think Jason Tatum's going to be at that point to where you're still trying to build around him? At what point does the Jason Tatum thing become, when does he become the second option? He's the first by default now. That's without a doubt. Even with Pandemic P pulling up, he's still the first option. When does the transition of Jason Tatum to second option happen? And who's that player going to be at that point who can pull up in Boston and be a better player than Jason Tatum is in that same year in 2028? You let me know. I don't know who that player is. This is about money. And yes, the Celtics are saving almost $3 million this year, but it's not even about that $3 million. If you start to break this down, right? June Lee's done some good reporting. He used to work at the 4-Letter Network. He's kind of in that Pablo Torre bag where he's getting into his investigative journalism bag. June Lee has broken down the tea. Because this makes a lot of sense if you read it as such. You hold back on trading draft picks for Giannis because remember, the alleged deal to try to go get the Nigerian freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, was Jaylen Brown and only 2 first-round picks. And that was it. So you hold back on trading draft picks for Giannis, who likely would have wanted an extension and cost more money than Jaylen. And then you trade Jaylen Brown as a salary dump for Pandemic P to save $60+ million in the middle of Tatum's prime. This is why you can't believe everything you're being told. Because I think that second part is factual as opposed to what the Celtics allegedly were putting on the table to try to go get Giannis. I don't think the Milwaukee Bucks ever took seriously Jaylen Brown and a couple of picks for Giannis. They wanted a lot more than that. That could have been a good first conversation, a good first starter, a good first offer that you know is not going to be accepted, so you just put it out there. But there's no way, I would certainly hope, there's no way that Brad Stevens really thought he could get the Nigerian freak for Jaylen Brown and a couple of picks. He had to know that there was going to have to be more. And the Bucks allegedly wanted as much. They wanted Hugo. Hugo is the jewel of Brad Stevens and the Celtics Brain Trust eyes. Hugo Gonzalez is going to have a chance to cook up. He's going to have to make this deal make sense. Hugo Gonzalez, you are on the clock. And if you don't know who Hugo Gonzalez is, don't worry. Most people don't know who the hell Hugo Gonzalez is. You got to be a real hooper's hooper to know who Hugo Gonzalez is. But apparently the Celtics Brain Trust thinks they have a jewel, a diamond in the rough in Hugo Gonzalez that can get more minutes next year. And I'm not saying replace Jaylen Brown, but they think highly of him enough that he's going to get elevated and get major minutes and major run next season. We shall see. Again, if you're trying to win during Tatum's prime, like June Lee is mentioning, if you're trying to win during during Jason Tatum's prime, why are you depending on Hugo Gonzalez to take not just one big step, but multiple big steps forward next year. That's a huge ask of a player that didn't get a lot of run. So was the Giannis deal legitimate? And let me even go deeper into it. Was the Giannis deal that we were told was the deal? Did the Bucks ever actually seriously consider that? I think the answer is no, because they came back and countered, and they wanted some young pieces in addition to Jaylen Brown and 2 first-round picks. And if you even want to get even deeper into it, the Bucks co-owner, or one of the owners of the Bucks, is Jimmy Haslam. If that name sounds familiar to you, it should. Jimmy Haslam also owns the Cleveland Browns. And Jimmy Haslam is tired of dealing with superstars and their trade demands and their salary demands and et cetera, et cetera. So, in a span of a month, he got rid of not only the Nigerian freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, with the team that he co-owns in the Bucks, but he also got rid of Myles Garrett with the Cleveland Browns. So this is purely about money. This has nothing to do with basketball. The boy genius is going to stand at the dais. He's going to stand there with Joe Mazzulla, and they're going to try to tell you that they're going to be a better team. But the only way the Celtics are going to be a better team is in the ledger. It's in the financial ledger. It's at the bank account. It's with the salary guys, the treasury guys, the capologists. Those are the only people that are happy about this Jaylen Brown deal. The private equity firm is doing backflips. This deal has nothing to do with basketball. If we want to get deeper to even this story, the Celtics were originally asking the Sixers to include VJ Edgecombe in the Jaylen Brown trade alongside Pandemic P. Boston's asking price on Brown continued to fall over the past few weeks. Key word there, few weeks, until they accepted Philadelphia's deal centered around Pandemic P and some picks. So, again, why would the Celtics trade their best player? Trading your best player is not good for basketball reasons. This is a financial deal. Through and through, this is about money, and it's not even, you could call it a salary dump like June Lee did, but in essence, you're trying to get some cap flexibility a season or two from now. Because if they would have gotten Giannis wanted that extension. Then what do? That's not creating financial flexibility. You're locked into both Tatum and Brown at max bread. You're just trading one max contract for another. But now you're taking Pandemic P, who is only guaranteed this year. He has a player option next year. But you can finagle that. And even if he opts in for that bread, you could flip him during the midseason for the trade deadline because he's an expiring contract at that point and cash out that way. And now you got all that bread coming off the books. This was not a basketball move. This is all about the money. And it's not even the money in regards to we're trying to sell Jason Tatum on. We're going to give you some help. Not just, maybe not this year we're going to give you some help, but next year or the year after that, we're going to get you some help. But if I'm Tatum, what's wrong with the help I have right now? If anything, we should have been able to go get we should be able to go get with Mitch Rob. If you're bringing in MAGA Mitch Rob to go with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, that's a formidable front line. That's a really dynamic front line. You have your anchor in MAGA Mitch Rob. Jason Tatum is dynamic offensively and can bring the ball up and facilitate a little bit. And then you have Jaylen Brown, who can do almost anything on the basketball court. That is an extremely dynamic and versatile front line. Why wouldn't you want that? Again, if you're trying to capitalize on Jason Tatum's prime. If the front office, if the ownership group has identified Jason Tatum is our marquee star, he's the face, Jaylen Brown, he walks the beat of a different drum. Doesn't have an agent. He bucks against the system. He doesn't fit the mold, especially with the ownership group being a private equity firm. Ain't no way a strident black man fits into that mold. So it's not shocking that they're picking Tatum over Brown in this respect. What is shocking is that they're going to come out here and tell you that they can still win a Larry O'B, that they can still compete for a championship, even though this trade has nothing to do with winning basketball games. Again, you see here, like the money it just makes sense. Jaylen Brown was on the hook for 3 more years, and he wanted an extension on top of that. So you're going to have to pay this bread and then figure out an extension probably after this season. Whereas you just get 1 year of pandemic P, even if he opts in for that player option by the halfway point of next season, in next season as in 2027, you could flip him at the trade deadline and all that money coming off the books. Or you could play that season out and just all that money is coming off your cap. Either way, that bread is going to get moved. And does that bread being moved benefit Jason Tatum, who is at that point, 2-3 years from now, it's going to be the back half of Jason Tatum's prime. He's still in it right now, but we got to remember he's just coming off a debilitating injury. I don't know if he just resumes right where we saw how he looked in the playoffs. He didn't resume right where he left off. There's a ramping up period again. He's got to ramp up and get back to what he was prior to falling down and going boom against the Knicks 2 seasons ago. We're waiting another year or two. I can't tell you I can't tell you without a shadow of a doubt that Jason Tatum is still going to be actively in his prime 2 seasons from now when this contract comes off the books and the boy genius Brad Stevens is ready to offer Jason Tatum some help. But from the Philly POV, Maxey, Jaylen Brown, VJ Etzcom, Dean Wade is a weak spot. Dean Wade he's the only shooter on the floor. That's the only thing. And he's not even a shooter like that, but he's going to have to be on this squad. Maxey, Jaylen Brown, VJ, Dean Wade, Joel Embiid. That is a really good starting 5. However, where is the depth? Oubre is gone. Who else is even remaining on this squad? Where is the depth going to be for the Sixers? Because this starting 5 is great, but we know how Embiid gets down. We know he's due to miss at least 20 games a year, minimum. If that's the case, what happens? Maxey, we know, can go get his shot. He can carry a team for short spans of time if he has to. Year 2 of VJ, what does that look like? Now you're bringing in JB. This looks really good. The Dean Wade thing, I'm not as high on that. I understand what he brings to the table, but if we're really trying to go crazy, and by the way, here's your man's Hugo as he come off the screen. I was looking at Vucevic because the boy genius has some explaining to do because his deals have been shaky. This is your man's Hugo. Man's Hugo, all of 4 points a game last year. This is who the boy genius is resting his reputation on. And let me make sure y'all can see that. Let me move myself. Hugo Gonzalez is who the Celtics are going to move up in the rotation to get some real minutes next year. I don't know how they can legitimately think they can replace even a monicum of the production of Jaylen Brown with Hugo Gonzalez, especially when Jason Tatum is still in his prime. I think he's in the back half of that prime, but still in his prime. Hugo Gonzalez has a lot of pressure on him. But anyway, we're looking at this from a Philly perspective. Who is on this Philly roster? Grimes is gone. Hey, they got no depth, bruh. They got no depth. They're going to have to go get some dudes. They have no bench whatsoever. They're going to have to go get some dudes. There's no bench here. So this part looks good on paper. This part looks good on paper. But this right here, they got some more work to do. And you already see it. People already talking about Hugo. Hugo Gonzalez. Let's hope he's the real deal for the Celtics fans' sake, because he allegedly, depending on who you believe, he's a real big part of the reason why the Celtics were not able to get Giannis Antetokounmpo, because allegedly they did not want to include him in the deal of the package that they offered, which was initially just Jaylen Brown and 2 first-round picks. Meanwhile, we saw what the Bucks ended up getting in return for Giannis, that it is silly that Brad Stevens thought he could just get Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Nigerian freak, just for some Jaylen Brown and a couple of picks, when we saw all the stuff that was given to the Bucks for the Heat to be able to go get Giannis. If you're telling me you didn't want to include Hugo Gonzalez, then Hugo Gonzalez better go cook up crazy next season. I better not see Hugo Gonzalez making love to that bench. Meanwhile, Giannis and Bam are going crazy in South Beach. I don't want to see Hugo Gonzalez getting no 10 minutes a game. What did he get last year? What did he average last year? He got 14 minutes last. He got 15 minutes a game last year. That has to jump up to about 20 plus. 20 plus minutes for your man Hugo next year. Has to be. Absolutely has to be. To be taken serious, he needs to be a big part of the rotation. But if we're talking about Philly, Maxey, Jaylen Brown, VJ Edgecombe, that's a really strong big three. Then you throw in Embiid, anchor in the paint. Dean Wade, I mean, y'all might be more higher on him than I am. Let me just try to give some respect to Dean Wade. Maybe I'm forgetting who he is. Nope. This is the exact Dean Wade that I thought. So, again, respectable shooter, 36, 37%. That's around league average. He only takes 3 threes a game. That number needs to go up now. On this roster, in this lineup, those threes got to go up. Maxey going to take his. JB's known to take some. VJ's been working on the shot. We know Embiid going to take them. Dean Wade's got to. 3 threes a game is not going to cut it if he's going to be a vital part of what the Sixers are trying to do next year. They are trying to squeeze whatever juice is left out of Joel Embiid's prime. That window is, I mean, it's right up against the edge of being closed. They're trying to get one more last run, one last ride, one last dance with the process. The process has evolved to this. From Markelle Fultz, so Michael Carter-Williams, we could just name all the names. Ben Simmons, all the names. Jahlil Okafor, all the names. It has evolved into Dean Wade, Jaylen Brown, VJ Edgecombe, Tyrese Maxey. That's a hell of a flip. It's a hell of a turnaround. But do y'all think the Sixers are title contenders? Let me know in the chat. Are the Philadelphia 76ers? I know this tweet is just for aggregation, right? And let's see how many views so far. Okay, 250,000 views so far in just a couple of hours. That sounds about right. Are the Sixers actually title contenders? Y'all let me know. I don't know who Wilt is, but I think you might be Wilt more than I am. But yeah, the Sixers are back. No doubt about it. Oh, you think, oh, is he getting the bench points? Hang on, let's see. Again, maybe I'm asleep. Oh, this is big praise. That's Kenny Anderson is big praise. If we're going there off rip, let me go ahead and come off the screen for a sec. Let's get some stats up. All right, so the Sixers, I mean, if the Rook is going to come in and do that, I'm not mad. If the Rook is going to come in and do work like this, hang on, I'm trying to get his stats up. All right, we'll let AI do some of the cooking. 22-5. So where does he fit in this backcourt? I guess is my. If he's going to get into his facilitating bat, like you're saying, Kenny Anderson. If he's going to be Kenny Anderson, that's high praise. I hold Kenny Anderson in the highest of praises. Now, if he's going to be in the mix off the bench, running with the second unit, I'm not mad at that. I'm still concerned about wing depth. Oubre's not great, but he was a warm body at least. But I am not mad at that. Okay, Philly is heavy. Philly is heavy. 215 is heavy, saying that they back. I can't pull up his college highlights because I don't want to get the stream flagged for copyright, but I am familiar with his game. He's one of them. I forgot that y'all got him. I had forgotten the draft, and the draft was only, like a week or so ago. I've already forgotten the draft. But yes, he will be extremely impactful on the bench. And who knows? He could even get some spot starts depending on injuries. He could slide into the rotation. I mean, he's good enough. I'm still concerned about the wing depth. That would be my biggest concern. Embiid is Embiid. He'll play his 60 games, 50 games. But in regards to that wing depth, I'm not big on Dean Wade as your four. Dean Wade as your starting four, unless you're going to put JB there now. Dean Wade's more of a three to me. So if you put in JB at the four, Dean Wade at the three, I still don't like that. I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to create some spacing, but Dean Wade ain't really a shooter like that. 3 threes a game is not a shooter. We just had his stats up. He's not a shooter like that. So unless you're telling me Dean Wade is going to become something he hasn't shown us he could be, then I don't know. To me, I just find it a little. All right, let's see. Philion, Justin Edwards, benchmark. That's. I mean, if you like it, I love it, but I'm going to hold back reservations until I see it. I need to see that. I need to see that work before I believe it. Because right now we're looking at the Knicks. The Knicks have lost Mitch Robb. They bring back Landry Shamet. But the Knicks went out there and they're allegedly close on Looney, Kevion Looney. That's a huge downgrade if I'm the Knicks. So if we're trying to handicap the East, again, there's still stuff to be worked out, right? Like the Miami Heat don't even have 10 guys on the roster, okay? So there's a lot of stuff that is still in flux. We don't know what's going to happen with LeBron. Is he staying out west and doing the thing with Wardell and the habitual nut hitter? Or is he spinning the block on the east and going down to South Beach? Is he going back to the crib in the land? Or is he going to try to go somewhere else and shake it up? Like, where is he going to go? But as it stands right now, no more than a week ago, there were real conversations saying that the Knicks are going to run it back. Now, with free agency officially open, Philly is better. Detroit, they've had some additions and losses. I don't know if I'm going to definitively say Detroit is better. Boston for sure is not better. The Knicks are worse with no Mitch Rob and allegedly replacing him with Kevon Looney. Cleveland hasn't done anything significant, but standing pat with a full year of the beard. Maybe LeBron pulls up for the minimum. Toronto should be better with Boardman teaming up with Scotty Barnes. So if we're looking at the teams that have made significant moves, obviously Miami. Miami will be in the mix. Miami's going to be a top, I'll be conservative, Miami will be a top 6 seed. They're not in the play-in no more. At least they better not be, barring injury. The Pacers think they're back. They think Halliburton is enough. And as much as I love Halliburton, I don't know if I'm willing to go that far. They got rid of Miles Turner. I'm on board with that. Zubac is a big upgrade. So Indiana should be at least play-in territory level, right? So Pistons, you can argue whether they're better or not. Celtics, to me, are worse. Knicks, as of right now, worse. Cleveland, kind of in the same range because they haven't done anything. Toronto should be better. If you're getting 46 wins with young Reaper, Brandon Ingram, you damn sure better get 50 wins with Boardman pulling up. And as crazy as it sounds, Toronto's going to get a better version of the Boardman this year than the 1 year where he was there and they stole a Larry O.B. Kawhi that degenerative knee was really bad that 1 year in Toronto. Over the last couple of years in LA, he's been able to manage that knee better. So you could make the case that Toronto's going to get a better version of Boardman than the one that got them their only championship. Toronto will be better. Philly will be better. Charlotte will not be better. Miami will be better. Like, teams are making leaps. Just a week ago, everyone was saying the Knicks are going to cakewalk the East again. They're going to run it back. And the whole Eastern Conference has said, hold my beer. I'm not big on Barlow at the 4, but I get it. Wade is merely there for a switchable defense. That's it. If that's what you gave him the bag for, that's a little troubling to me because he's not that great defensively. He's a body. He's 6'9", so yeah, you could do the whole positionless, let's switch everything thing with him, but they're going to hunt him. If you have a lineup out here with Maxey, Brown, Edgecombe, Wade, and Embiid, who are you hunting out of these 5? You're hunting Dean Wade, and it's not even a racial thing. You're hunting Dean Wade. So a week ago, the Knicks were going to run it back. This week, oh my God, the Sixers are title contenders. This is how much free agency and trades can just change everything. As much as we keep hearing these contracts are so bloated and so overvalued and untradeable, every year we see max players getting moved. Despite what CJ McCollum tried to do in the last CBA, max contracts are still being moved every offseason. A $300+ million contract just got traded away. I don't know, man. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Yeah, he isn't great. No one is saying otherwise, but he isn't making mistakes. We will certainly find out. We will certainly find out how good Dean Wade is. I'm not sitting here saying he's Swiss cheese, but I'm also not going to sit here and say, I'm not going to just assume he's going to be good. He'll have a lot of help. Jaylen Brown will be helping him. VJ Edgecombe will be helping him. Joel Embiid obviously will be cleaning up a lot of his mistakes. But when it comes to the playoffs, and teams are isolating all your weaknesses and trying to expose them over a series, that's when you're going to get to learn of whether Dean Wade actually is good. When a team starts to build their whole game plan around exposing him, I mean, look at his defensive rating, dog, a 115. And he's had that multiple times. Your average defensive rating is 110. So right here, he's only done that once in his entire career. He's only been an average defender. Oh, let me move myself so y'all can see that. He's only been an average defender once. So he's been a below average defender in the majority of his career. And he was playing with guys who could play defense. He was playing with Evan Mobley. He was playing with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, and he was still a below average defender. So I get it, I get it. Certainly is a glue guy. He looks the part to be a glue guy. All right, so getting into this again, I think from this deal to me, obviously from the Sixers POV, this was a win now move. This is a win now move. We're going to squeeze out whatever's left of Joel Embiid. Pause. It's no longer, it's July, so we can say pause again. All right. We're going to try to get whatever we can out of the end of his prime, the end of his peak, the end of the process. While the Celtics are still trying to sell us that they're trying to win with Jason Tatum during his prime. This move from the Celtics POV was not a basketball move, it was a financial move. This was about money and not just salary cap money. This is about ownership money. Ownership money dictated this move, and I can't believe that there's not enough people in the media talking more about this because it's blatant. June Lee did the reporting. He's on the Pablo Torre wave, where he's a former ESPN employee that now is getting into that investigative journalism thing, and he's doing deep dives. Now, I'm not going to play the video, copyright, but this is the Celtics owner. He is the owner on paper. He is the public face, Bill Chisholm. Bill Chisholm didn't have the bread when the public got first wind that he was buying the Celtics. He didn't have the bread. He was short on the funds. So he got with a private equity firm to give him the bread. In exchange for that, he had to cough up a majority of the power in the ownership hierarchy with this private equity firm. Now, once it was announced that he was going to be the face of this ownership group, he then got some more investors involved and got some bread. And then that kind of balanced the scales, and the league approved it because the league did not like the fact that this private equity firm was putting up more bread than the dude that was supposed to be the face of the ownership group. Bringing in private equity firms, all they're trying to do is cut costs, increase profitability, decrease overhead. That is what private equity firms do, and they are creeping into sports in a major way. And that's why a lot of these contracts are just being moved, cut, dumped. This is what happens in corporate America. A company gets bought out by another company. They immediately gut the staff of the company that just got bought. But then at the end of the year, the numbers are crazy. The profits are crazy because you just gutted the whole staff. So you saved a lot of money in cutting all those people. It's the same thing in this private equity space when it comes to sports. Jaylen Brown won how much? Oh, we can't do that. All right, we'll flip him for Pandemic P. His contract comes off the books in a year or two, right? Bet. Let's do that. Because Jaylen Brown wanted an extension, allegedly. So again, like Junlee said earlier, you hold back on trading draft picks for Giannis, who would have wanted an extension and would have cost way more money than Jaylen Brown. But then you trade Jaylen Brown as a salary dump for Pandemic P to save $60+ million in the middle of Jason Tatum's prime. Which one is it? Is it Uchiwali or is it one Mike? Are you trying to win in Jason Tatum's prime or are you salary dumping? The report that we got saying that the Celtics only offered Jaylen Brown and a couple of firsts, was that even ever legitimate? Now seeing that they just gave away Jaylen Brown, do we now even think that the original deal of Brown and a couple of picks for Giannis was even legitimate? I think that was the first offer. And then the Bucks came back and said, no, we need more. And then I think that's when it got quiet from the boy genius, Brad Stevens. Y'all tell me, who do you believe? We did the stream earlier talking about LeBron and Kawhi and who do you believe? Same thing here. The whole NBA offseason is who do you believe? Everyone is putting their narratives out there for the public to consume and make judgments on and side with. Who do you believe? Do you believe that the Celtics were actually trying to get Giannis by just offering Jaylen Brown and a couple of picks? Or is this move, this salary dump move, the actual Celtics game plan because they have private equity running the organization? As much as we could talk about Missoula, as much as we could talk about Brad Stevens, as much as we could talk about Jason Tatum, the people who are actually cutting the check is what matters. And those people want to save bread, no matter what the expense is, even getting rid of the best player on the team. Yeah, I mean, once PG retires in the next 2 years, the contract's gone. And that's the money play. But the spin is they're going to try to make that to be about basketball. That's the issue. The issue is that the public is going to be receiving words from Brad Stevens, from Missoula, from maybe even the ownership group themselves saying, we're still committed to winning basketball games. The question you have to ask yourself is, if you were lowballing to get the Nigerian freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and then you turn around and use the one piece that you were going to try to lowball with to get Giannis, and then use that to go get Paul George, that to me tells me you weren't serious about getting Giannis in the first place. Because if Hugo Gonzalez, if this is the reason why you didn't go get Giannis, you got some explaining to do from a basketball standpoint. Talk to me about how Hugo Gonzalez is an untouchable, even for Giannis, even for a back-to-back MVP and finals MVP. Jaylen Brown, you're willing to let go of, but Hugo Gonzalez, untouchable. Make that make sense to me about basketball, not about anything else. What is Hugo Gonzalez going to do all 15 minutes per night of him? What did the Celtics see over those 15 minutes a night last year that make you think he's going to be the next coming of somebody on a high level, a future all-star, a future MVP, a future, number one, number two option? What did they see in those 15 minutes? Because I watched a lot of Celtics games. I ain't seen nothing crazy about no Hugo Gonzalez that jumped off the screen. Like Jaylen Johnson, a couple of years ago, when he came into the league in Atlanta, he jumped off the screen, even though he was trying to find his way. He was a youngin', he was a rookie. He had Trae Young, obviously, demanding the ball. That was the DeJounte Murray year as well. Like, there was a lot of guys that were not going to give him opportunities to cook up. But the few chances he had, he flashed. Now, in just a 2 short year span, he's damn near the face of the franchise. But you saw glimpses of it, even as a rookie. What the hell did any of y'all see from Hugo Gonzalez this past year that makes you think, oh, if he just has more minutes, he gonna go? Y'all let me know. Pandemic P, man, he's a legend at the bank, though. As much as we can make fun of him, and he deserves every bit of the shade, there's no way we can't kill him too much, because when he walks into the bank, the amount of money that man has made, it's obscene. Like, let me come off the screen for a second and try to look this up. It is obscene how much money he has made. And hey, look, salute. We don't hate here. When it comes to that bread, especially guaranteed money, we don't hate. We hate on NFL money because it's funny money and it's always bloated and it's never guaranteed. Paul George. Let's pull that up and we'll come back to the screen. Go here. Career earnings, $406 million for Pandemic P. So yes, we can make fun of him and he deserves it. But this right here, that's the big joker. We playing spades, that's the big joker. So the financial play is a real strong thing for me, from my POV in this deal. As much as I want to look at it from just a pure basketball perspective and get at Brad Stevens and tear him down and ask Joe Mazzulla, what the hell you going to do? Stop watching The Town, figure out what the hell you're going to do now with no Jaylen Brown. As much as I want to do that, I cannot ignore the fact that Bill Chisholm and the private equity firm is really what's at play here for why Jaylen Brown is no longer a Boston Celtic. Now I have to look at the news reports, the tea that we were given by insiders and beat writers and, senior NBA writer this and whatever, who were telling us up and down, no. Giannis to Boston, it's real. Jaylen Brown and a couple of picks, that can get it done. And now you're telling me JB for Paul George? Pandemic P, that's it. And them picks ain't even that great. We broke that down. Those picks ain't even that great. You see the picks? They ain't even that great. A 2031 unprotected Philadelphia first. Philadelphia should still be good, assuming they still have Jaylen Brown and Maxey and Edgecombe at that point. If they still got the big three, that unprotected Philadelphia first ain't going to be worth shit. The 2028 first round pick could convert from a first to a swap that's more favorable to Boston. Cool story, bro. And these second round picks are essentially pick swaps. So what is the big pick from this trade? Again, this is not about basketball. This trade is about basketball for the Sixers, without a doubt. Big W for the Sixers. But in regards to everybody else, in regards to the Celtics POV, this is not about basketball. Sell me on the cap space in a couple of years at the pandemic piece done. You can sell me that all you want. Jason Tatum's window is right now. Just like Joel Embiid at the end of his window, that Tatum window ain't wide open. He just came off his first debilitating injury. Like, or at least of this prime of his career. He had one early in his career, but like the prime of this is what you're getting. The Sixers are showing you we're trying to maximize whatever is left of the Joel Embiid window. The Celtics are telling us they're trying to maximize whatever's left of the Jason Tatum window, but they're also asking us, we have to believe that Jason Tatum's window is still going to be wide open 2 years from now. I don't know about you, but I'm not sitting here convinced that Tatum is going to be as good as he is. I won't even say today because I think he's still rehabbing. A year and a half ago, that guy ain't going to be there in 2 years. Whatever version we see of Jason Tatum, that will be the best of the remaining part of his career. It's a slow decline. He's at that point. He's 28. You're telling me 31-year-old Jason Tatum, that's the window you want to maximize? Okay. This is disrespectful, but Paul George is the Sam Bradford of the NBA, except PG was actually good. I mean, one of the homies in the group chat, shout out to Sadiq. I don't know if he's in here. And shout out to y'all in here. I appreciate y'all. The homie Sadiq said, yo, Pandemic P is the Kirk Cousins of the NBA. And I'm, much like Sam Bradford, I'm thinking more like Kirk Cousins. Legend at the bank. Because Kirk Cousins, let me see, let's look up his bread. Yeah, we're not big into pocket watching, but it is what it is. It's sports and the money is public. NFL, Kirk Cousins. And the thing with Kirk Cousins is 95% of his money has been guaranteed, fully guaranteed. You see it here, $321 million. And a vast majority of this money, I would say probably 300 of this 321 was fully guaranteed. A lot of your favorites in the NFL cannot say the same. There's a lot of funny money, bloated money, incentive-based money that are incentives that no one can ever actually reach. But that money is still counted in the number when they announce someone signing. But Kirk Cousins don't play. You see it, even a 2-year deal for 12.6, 11.3 is guaranteed. So even at the end of his career, even when he's washed, he is still cashing out. Salute to Kirk O'Chains. It's not about money, Sam. It's about basketball. Okay, explain this to me. The Celtics save about $2.9 million this season by trading Jaylen Brown for Paul George. Y'all let me know. It's not about money, though, right? It's not about money. Y'all let me know. I think there's some real conversations to be had in regards to what does Jason Tatum actually think. Now, he'll say all the right things. He's on that Kobe shit. He think he Kobe for real, for real. But what does Jason Tatum actually think? If he could get out of trying to be the reincarnation of Kobe and be himself when he looks in the mirror, what does he actually think is going on? He got his bread, so he good. He got his Supermax, he's straight. Pocket straight forever. Generational wealth. But what does he think about how he going to next season with MAGA Mitch Rob and Pandemic P? Now again, MAGA Mitch Rob is an upgrade over Vucevic. But now you're giving me Pandemic P to go along with MAGA Mitch Rob. That's like one step forward, two steps back. And again, Shams is saying the Celtics were originally asking Philly to include VJ Edgecombe. Now, this to me, I mean, Philly would have never done it. So I'm glad that they didn't do anything stupid here. But why would, I guess let me put it to you like this. Who leaked this to Shams? Shams got his sources all over the league. Who leaked this information to Shams? Why did, to me, it clearly is the Boston side, but maybe you might think differently. You let me know. Who leaked this information to Shams? Because why would this information have to be put out there? Why is this information vital? The Celtics are trying to save face. They are trying to save face because they want you to think that they actually tried to get more for Jaylen Brown. But again, this has nothing to do with basketball. Because even if we want to say, all right, let's say that VJ is part of this deal. He's not. But let's just imagine the scenario that he is. That rookie deal now goes to Boston. He's going to be eligible for an extension around the same window that they're trying to get the Paul George salary off the books. So even if they would have had VJ in the deal, the whole narrative of, well, this is a salary dump and we're going to clear salary for when, Paul George retires or leaves. And then that way we have money to open up the books to go get Jason Tatum some help. Well, that money would have just went to VJ. So are you trying to tell me VJ Edgecombe 2 years from now is going to be ready to be the number one option in Boston? I ain't buying that. You buying that? The math ain't math and the reporting ain't reporting. It's a lot of fugazi stuff right now. Just be aware that there's a lot of narratives being spun and a lot of people are protecting themselves. Everyone wants to come out the winner. The Celtics want you to think that they tried hard to try to get maximum value for Jaylen Brown when clearly they didn't. Around the league, I can tell you there are a lot of teams that are like, that's all y'all got? If we knew that's what it was going to, look what the Lakers had to give up for Walker Kessler. Do I need to pull up the Walker Kessler deal? Is a sign and trade for Walker Kessler. Where is it? All right, so the Lakers got Walker Kessler for an unprotected first round pick in 2031 and 2033. And swaps, first round pick swaps in 2028 and 2030. 4 first round picks for Walker Kessler. And unprotected ones at that. And you're only able to get 1 unprotected first round pick for Jaylen Brown? Tell me that's about basketball. Look me in my face and think I'm stupid and tell me that's about basketball. One day the masses will get all the real tea. One day. You have to read between the lines. If Walker Kessler is getting 4 first-round picks, Giannis 4 first-round picks, and Jaylen Brown 2, and of the 2, only 1 is unprotected. Somebody out there, make it make sense. Now, I don't want to hear from the Boston media. The Boston media is going to spin this to make it look like this is a huge win for the Celtics. I want someone who is unbiased. Objectively walk me through why this is good for the Celtics and don't bring money into it.